So let's take a quick tour of the functional anatomy of the ear and how that enables our ability to hear. We separate the ear into three parts, the external, middle and inner ear. And what we'll do is we'll work our way through from the external ear right the way through to the inner ear. So the external ear includes both the pinna, or the auricle, and the external auditory meatus, sometimes referred to as the ear canal. You will note that the pinna is thrown into a series of ridges and folds, which is actually no design flaw, but actually plays an important role in contributing to the collection of sound waves and directing them down towards the external auditory meatus. So the external auditory meatus, along with the pinna, play an important role in funneling, focusing and directing those sound waves from the external environment down towards the tympanic membrane. Now, the external auditory meatus is only about 2.5 centimetres long in the adult ear, and that's a point worth noting when using an otoscope. It's a skin-lined cul-de-sac, and as I said, it ends at the point of the lateral surface of the tympanic membrane. So when we perform otoscopic examination, that allows us to directly visualize the extent of the external auditory meatus and as far as the tympanic membrane. So when we reach the tympanic membrane, which is a pearly white transparent membrane which separates the external ear from the middle ear cavity, we enter into the middle ear cavity, or sometimes called the tympanic cavity. Now, within this air-filled space, we have a series of the smallest bones in our body, the ossicles. Now, the middle ear cavity and parts of the external ear are housed within the petrous bone, which is an important bone forming the skull base. Now, the middle ear cavity is an air-filled space, and importantly, it has a communication with two other areas of the body. First of all, the middle ear cavity communicates with air-filled spaces within the mastoid process, known as the mastoid air cells, but also it has an intermittent communication with the nasopharynx via the eustachian tube, which ensures that the pressures within the middle ear cavity remain equilibrated with atmospheric pressure. And when there's problems with this equilibration of pressure, we start to get certain types of middle ear diseases. So we said that we've got these three ossicles. We have the malleus, the incus, and the stapes, and vibration at the tympanic membrane as a result of the vibrations in air hitting the tympanic membrane set up vibrations through the ossicles, and those vibrations relay through the stapes, specifically the footplate of the stapes, onto an oval-shaped membrane, flexible membrane on the cochlea, which we know as the oval window. So vibration at the oval window and the subsequent relay of mechanical vibration, which is also amplified as it passes through the ossicles, sets up vibrations within fluid which is found within the inner ear structures. Now, we know that the inner ear consists of the vestibular apparatus and the cochlea, but when it comes to hearing, the cochlea is the main organ of hearing. So once the vibrations reach the cochlea and we start to get vibrations set up within the fluid within the cochlea, this movement of fluid through a result of some quite complex anatomy ultimately causes movement in a series of specialized hair cells called stereocilia found within a particular part of the cochlea known as the organ of Corti. The movement of these stereocilia converts fluid movement into nerve impulse action potentials, which are propagated via the cochlear components of the vestibular cochlear nerve. And once received by the auditory cortex, these nerve impulses can be perceived and interpreted as our sense of hearing.